Hello, stargazers! I'm your magician, but you can call me Esther. And today I am joined by...
Me. Wait, I'm running. Me. It's me when there's something important, I sleep. Me when toxic Yuri, I wake, I'm here.
Real shit! Real shit!
It's real shit! I gotta be here for the toxic and the Yuri.
And the Yuri. The toxic and the... Yeah, because we are getting both this time. This is another game by Ebihime. Yes. This game features a mushroom girl who wants to infect us with toxic spores. Isn't this exciting?
That's so hot.
Whenever there's Yuri,
yes,
there's
please.
Rose. Toxic Yuri in every meaning of the word toxic. Exciting! I know! Is it like that other mushroom girl game? Not really. I think I know the one that you're talking about. I do plan on playing it with Mugman, having Mugman voice the male protagonist and then me be the mushroom girl. But this time...
There's another mushroom girl?
There is another mushroom girl. Oh, what the fuck is the...
Oh my god.
What's the game called? Like, Grow Your Girlfriend? Or is that a different one?
Grow Your Girlfriend! Okay.
Yeah, grow a girlfriend. Yeah.
Grow a girlfriend.
I'm gonna play that one with Mugman. So since I'm gonna be doing a mushroom girl later, this mushroom girl is going to be performed by your lovely local Rose.
Me.
And the ink soba! Thank you for the $20 ink! Thank you!
Grow a girlfriend sounds wild.
But for now, let's focus on her love, like poison.
We'll try and finish this 1 or 2 streams, but who knows with us.
Yeah, who knows?
Yes.
Remember of a devil? What a great time.
We'll get back to it at some point.
Well,
Anyway. Eventually.
Go.
Woohoo!
So, are we like doing the narration too?
I don't know. I haven't decided.
Here, I'll do it for now, but
if you get tired, we can I can switch over.
Yeah. Ooh, cute art. I know this is mostly Nessie's art. So I think this is pronounced Ethel?
If I'm wrong, please correct me.
Ethel Briggs was trying to play the second movement of Mozart's Violin Sonata number 21, but she wasn't having much luck. Ethel. Okay. It had been months since she last picked up her violin, and the lack of practice had made her rusty. She'd played this particular piece numerous times, and not for any competitions. She'd always been too shy to enter, despite Miss Manderley's gentle coaxing, but for her own satisfaction. Mozart's Violin Sonata 21 was one of her favorites, actually.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Oh, pretty.
Ethel wasn't a huge Mozart aficionado. She didn't like how upbeat most of his pieces were, how frothy, flippant, and inoffensive. On the whole, she thought that Mozart was far too cheerful. Ethel much preferred the quiet, understated melancholy of Beethoven, or Chopin's clean, precise compositions. But there was something special about the Violin Sonata 21. This was one of Mozart's few sonatas in E minor, composed in Paris shortly after his mother's death. The first part was allegro, and it contained some of that familiar energy which was so distinctly Mozart, but the second was far more moving. The second movement of Mozart's Violin Sonata 21 had a special place in Ethel's heart, maybe because this was one of the first violin pieces she'd heard. It was this piece which had inspired her to take up the violin in the first place. Ethel had wanted to be able to play this melancholy piece with her own 2 hands, to bring this ethereal, haunting music into the world of her own volition. For many years, Ethel had attended her violin lessons dutifully, and for a while she'd accomplished her goal. She had performed this piece often enough that her muscle memory could make up for her lack of practice. But though Ethel knew she had the notes mostly correct wasn't good enough. Ethel's right hand slipped, the bow scraping unpleasantly against the strings, and she winced. She'd been at it for some 5 minutes, trying to recreate her past successes, but this was the final straw. What was the point in pursuing this any further? It wasn't as though she was performing this for an audience. She was at home, on her own, and this was a blessing. If her parents and her 2 younger brothers had been there, Ethel wouldn't have been able to play her once beloved violin at all. They all would have told her to knock it off, apart from Rowan, maybe. Rowan had always been kind. Or maybe he, unlike the other members of Ethel's family, was simply too self-conscious to say what he actually thought. Maybe Rowan looked down on Ethel too, for her strange, lonely, old-fashioned hobbies. Ethel's family didn't really care for classical music. Her father Jude liked Iron Maiden, Dio, and Judas Priest, while her mother Lauren listened to anything that was trending on TikTok.
on what?
Okay, so this is
what?
quite modern.
Manny, meanwhile, listened to loud, shouty music, and Ethel didn't know what Rowan liked because he never told anybody. Rowan was very secretive about his interests, almost furtive. If her family had listened to classical music, however, Ethel knew they would have preferred Mozart to Beethoven and Chopin. Mozart seemed exactly like the sort of person Lauren would have enjoyed chatting with over a pint, come to think of it, if the Mozart on Amadeus was at all like the real man. Ethel sighed. Come to think of it, Amadeus is, one of my friend's favorite movies. Sif, one of my mods.
Mom is a doom scroller just like me, for real. I think I'm the only one in our immediate friend group that really uses TikTok.
I think so, because I don't use TikTok.
Like, you don't use it.
Mugman only uses it to watch the stuff that I send him.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Like, I don't know why, but that just makes sense. And then I don't think there's anyone else that like uses TikTok.
Yeah, Mira doesn't use it, so.
Kind of sweet on Mugman's part, mostly because I sent him so many texts to links to TikToks, and he hated the browser app. Ethel's so pretty, you forget she's kinda insufferable. Typical soft protagonist in Ebby's games.
She was disappointed in herself.
Honestly, I also like can't stand the fucking browser option for TikTok, but I refuse to download
so
it anyways.
bad. Like, actually awful.
Oh, literally.
She hadn't been playing the violin for very long, but her jaw was aching and her fingers were already beginning to hurt. Gloomily, she set her violin down. Look at her.
She's so fucking...
I love her braids.
Glumly, she looked at it, lying on her bed. Her eyes softened in such a way that she looked rather like an abandoned puppy. Then, feeling rather sad and sorry for herself, she sniffed. She loved that violin once, but her love had long since dwindled. Everything which had once brought Ethel, joy, had become grey and faded since Clementine had left her. What did her love for music matter now?
Oh no, she has an ex.
Oh no.
Ethel just got introduced and she's already a wet dog / affectionate.
Hey, Yen. Had it ever mattered? Ethel was already 21, and simultaneously she was only 21. She was in her final year of university. Hey? The adult world loomed before her. Rather than welcoming it, however, Ethel found herself shrinking away from her future responsibilities. That was probably why she dug out her old violin, to play through her favorite piece from her childhood. She'd been trying to cling to the past. She simply didn't want to grow up.
God, she's just like me.
Ethel sat down on her bed, defeated, though she supposed it wasn't her bed anymore. It hadn't been for almost 3 years. When Ethel was at university in Durham, Manny slept in what had once been her room. When Ethel came back for the holidays, Manny and Rowan were forced to share a room, something they both resented. I know it's a tight squeeze, Jude always said. Oh, yes? Yeah, go for it.
Alright. I know it's a tight squeeze.
Jude always said.
Oh. But try to bear with it, Ethel. Can't be expected to share with either of you. She's the oldest, and she's a young lady. She needs her space. Don't be so surly.
Rowan was good-natured enough that he didn't complain about this sleeping arrangement too much, not to Ethel's face at least, but Manny was less so. Manny was only 13, and he hadn't learned how to be tactful yet. Ethel's youngest brother had been in an awful mood all Christmas, a mood which Ethel knew was largely because of her unwanted presence. It had been a relief when her family had left the day prior for Luton Airport, for the holiday they'd been looking forward to so much. Now that Manny was no longer skulking around, shooting her nasty glares whenever their paths crossed, Ethel felt like she could finally breathe. Some small part of Ethel wished that she'd accompanied her family. She'd never been to Australia before, and she was curious about it, but another part of her thought she'd made the right move. She didn't want to keep subjecting Manny to her company. She also enjoyed having the house to herself. That meant she could play the violin without having to worry about the sound carrying, and it did carry in her parents' home since the walls were so thin. Ethel had been looking forward to being on her own, but now that she was on her own, she couldn't even enjoy her newfound freedom. What was wrong with her? Ethel bit the inside of her cheek, weighing up her options. If she couldn't play her violin, she should at least give her thesis a go. The due date to hand the damn thing in was approaching. She only had 2 months left to work on it, but she'd not written a single line of it yet.
Such a mood.
No, literally.
She couldn't bring herself to. Like the violin, Ethel had lost all interest in her thesis and in her degree. Ethel had used her thesis as an excuse to get out of going on holiday with her parents. She told them she needed to focus on work, but she'd been doing precious little work all day and wasting an awful lot of time. Ethel glanced at her violin, which lay discarded on her bed. Then she sighed for the umpteenth time that night. How had things come to this? What had happened to make her lose interest in everything which had once delighted her, especially her beloved violin? Unwilling girls might have been coerced into playing instruments by their parents, but this hadn't been the case with Ethel. Ethel had been introduced to the world of classical music quite by chance, after discovering an old CD full of the stuff in a jumble sale for 50 pence. She'd been drawn to the old crack CD because of the smiley lady on the cover, and she hadn't been too interested in the music itself. Cool, so she's always been... That's crazy, she is that... Damn, she likes women.
Yeah, good for her. Maybe you should get a girlfriend, like, right now, to a forest.
I'm curious how the whole mushroom thing is gonna relate to this, because, like... How do we even get to there from here?
My theory is that she's like, this house sucks, I'm gonna leave.
Run into the forest.
She leaves and she goes to the forest to like distract herself or something, and then she sees Mushroom Girl and like instantly in love because of also go instantly in love.
Maybe she should play that girlfriend game. Yeah. She should.
When she'd listened to that CD, however, she'd experienced a revelation. The songs had spoken to her. She'd instantly been drawn into the world of classical music, and it had all been thanks to Mozart's Violin Sonata No. 21. Ethel had known, after listening to that CD, that her life would never be the same again. Shortly after, she had pleaded with her parents to take her to violin lessons, so she could play just as well as that smiley lady with the pixie cut on the cover of that CD. Ethel had since lost that life-altering CD. She'd lost many things which were important to her over the years, but she could remember the cover clearly. The woman had been pretty despite her unconventional haircut, decidedly feminine in her blue wrap dress and her dangly earrings. She'd held her violin against the nook of her neck, and in her other hand she'd wielded a bow. There'd been something commanding about the nameless woman in blue, despite how skinny she'd been, how slender her arms and legs. Uh-huh. Now I'm hyped to hear Aster do Button. Oh, is that the Mushroom Girl? Look. I'm also excited. To young Ethel, she had seemed less like a person and more like a queen from a fairy tale, the garland of flowers on her head only adding to this illusion. Ethel hadn't necessarily wanted to play the violin for the sake of it. She just wanted to look like the nameless lady on the album's cover. A lady who, Ethel now realized, probably hadn't played any of the songs arranged on that CD. The woman on that cover had probably been a model, brought into a studio to pose with a violin she couldn't play. That, or she'd been a stock image lifted from the internet. When Ethel had grown up enough to realize this, it had sullied the mystique of that seminal CD. A little like how other children felt betrayed after learning that Santa wasn't real. It had been an eye-opening moment, but maybe it had been for the best. This revelation had lessened Ethel's pain, at least, when the CD had gone missing a few years ago. In any case, Ethel's violin lessons had never quite lived up to her expectations. Welcome in Val and welcome in VLXD! Ethel.
I'm still not used to this.
Ethel had kept at the violin, carried by her initial childish enthusiasm. But her enthusiasm had faded when she started secondary school and she realized that she would never be as smiley or as happy as the elfin woman on that CD cover. She would never be that pretty either. No amount of playing the violin could bring Ethel
closer to her idealized image of perfection.
Which became all the more apparent when Shania?
Shania?
Is it Shania?
And her gang had started to bully her.
Citation needed. Ethel is an old lady name nobody uses anymore. Don't sweat it.
Welcome in Oku!
We're making it modern, now it's Ethel.
It's modern now!
Ethel grew so disenchanted with the violin, she gave up on her lessons at the start of year 11. She had needed to focus on her GCSEs anyway, and it hadn't helped that she had jammed her fingers during a netball game in PE, and it had hurt for a whole month to hold her bow. She had never liked it when she played in the house anyway, especially when there was a big game on. Manny, meanwhile, had always said her scraping sounded unbearable. It's like nails on a chalkboard!
It's like nails on a chalkboard! Can't you pack it in?
Manny used to say, and in the end, Ethel did just that. She packed the violin in, but not for good. She continued to play here and there when her parents and her brothers were out of the house and there was nobody to hear her. Sometimes Ethel even took joy in her playing, but these moments had been few and far between. Once, Ethel had played the violin dedicatedly, once a week at her teacher's, Miss Manderley. Now she played once a month, if that, and she did so furtively as if it were a shameful secret. Ethel couldn't help but feel embarrassed as she played, as though she were performing an obscene act, even more intimate than masturbation.
Whoa. Maybe playing the violin was masturbation in a sense, because it had only ever brought her pleasure. Hey.
Insane.
It's an interesting metaphor.
Nobody else in her life had cared to listen to her. Nobody except dear old Miss Manderley. She'd been encouraging, but
what had this brought Ethel? Ethel ultimate brunette confirmed.
Can all my gooders rise up?
Rise.
Ethel left her violin on the bed and approached the window, her footsteps muffled like a cat's quiet padding. Once there, she stood at the sill and glanced out at the garden beyond. It was late at night. The digital clock on her bedside table said it was already 8:30, and the sky was navy blue, the moon ringed by wisps of cloud. There was a bit of a breeze outside, and the darkened silhouettes of the hedgerows were shaking. Ethel's fingers curled around the windowsill. All of a sudden, being inside felt stifling. Here we go. Ethel had been so caught up in her memories, she worried they would overwhelm her. Newly uneasy, Ethel took an anxious step away from the window.
Let's go out into the forest and meet a mushroom girl.
Let's go.
She wasn't sure why, but she had an intense desire to escape. She had to clear the cobwebs from her mind in some way, and what better way to do that than to go for a walk? It might have been late at night.
In the middle of the night! Yippee!
Yippee! It might have been late at night. It was too late to go for a wander, really, but she did live in Oxbury. Oxbury was a tiny village, almost minuscule, really, with a nigh on non-existent crime rate.
Do you think this place exists on W Place? What Deltarune character do you think was drawn over it?
Oh my god, I was like checking W Place on my country, and the first thing I fucking see is the original Star Walker.
Bro. there's this like, somebody drew the Roaring Knight over a building near me.
Oh yeah, Max told me. And then I also saw Leon Kennedy.
Are you serious?
In my, I am serious. I saw fucking original Star Walker and fucking Leon Kennedy. Fucking country.
What's W Place? W Place is a website that's been popping up lately where people can draw pixel art over the world map. And so people have been like drawing stuff around where they live. Mostly Deltarune characters. And it's cool because you can visit it and then you can see like what all of the people around you have been drawing. It's been blowing up a bunch lately. It's really cool though. My god, even in real life, the knight continues to aura farm. Nothing bad ever happened there. Oxbury. No stabbings ever took place in Oxbury, contrary to the wild claims Americans on the internet like to make about the UK's crime statistics or any muggings.
What the fuck is this game?
These damn Americans on the internet.
Ethel would be just fine. Why wouldn't she be? Oxbury was so safe and sterile it bordered on the boring. Hadn't she always wanted to go on fun adventures when she was a little girl? Adventure was hardly going to come and find her if she remained indoors, steeped in her reminiscences as if she were a tea bag. Ethel didn't imagine that anything exciting would happen on her walk, but it would be better than sitting inside and stewing.
My god, the kitchen is so cute. I love this art style so much. I love Mosinasi's art. Going back to a game that I really liked, It Gets So Lonely Here. It's the same artist. Their artist... It Gets So
Lonely Here mention.
The art style is updated a whole bunch. Like, they've gotten better. It's nice. This is super comfy art.
I was checking their profile. I was like, I want to commission them so bad.
Me.
Like, actually.
Please. Oh my god.
Ethel padded downstairs, her feet sinking against the cushioned landing, then the cushioned steps of the staircase, and paused by the front door. She eyed her old coat, but ultimately left it be.
I like just ate, so I keep on burping. It was a brown duffel coat, which Ethel had owned since sixth form. The coat had been in active service for 4 long winters, and the passage of time had taken its toll. One of the toggles of the coat was missing, it had snapped clean off, and the brown, furry fabric was worn and threadbare in places, like a beloved teddy which had been cuddled one too many times. Lauren had tutted when Ethel came home from university clad in that natty coat and shaken her head. There you go.
Hey. You're still wearing that old thing?
Yeah, just keep going.
Alright. I thought you would have brought a new coat by now. You look like you have come straight out of a jumble sale.
Ethel knew that her mother hadn't meant this as a compliment. Ethel's mother rarely complimented her appearance, but she liked it nonetheless. See you later, John. Lauren had often taken Ethel to jumble sales when she was a girl, ostensibly to find some cheap bits and pieces for their newly renovated kitchen, but actually so she could have a natter with her friends. Lauren would stand by...
Do you want me to do it?
No, I got it. I'm getting back in the groove. Okay. It's been a while since I've done narration like this. Lauren would stand by Auntie Jeannie and Auntie Mariella's stalls. They weren't real aunties, of course, they were just her mother's friends, while Ethel would wander around by herself, transfixed by all the wares on display. The jumble sale her mother had frequented every weekend had taken place in the car park of the big Sainsbury's in Wrexham, and all sorts of people were in attendance. It hadn't just been Auntie Jeannie, who sold old paperbacks which had once belonged to her mother, and Auntie Mariella, who sold soaps and candles. There had been other, more interesting vendors with piercings and tattoos. Some of these vendors sold bits of wood whittled into fantastical creatures, self-painted dioramas of forests and fairy tale castles, handmade jewelry set with stones which couldn't have been precious, but which shone regardless, and beaded dream catchers which swayed in the breeze. Their wares made Auntie Jeannie's old paperbacks and Auntie Mariella's soaps and candles look very pedestrian indeed. Ethel had always loved jumble sales, in part because there'd been so much stuff to gawp at. They'd been so busy, Ethel had been able to melt into the crowds, completely anonymous. Ethel quite liked being told she looked like she'd come straight from one of those sales, though her mother had been less than impressed. Lauren had told her that her coat made her look mousy, but that was what Ethel preferred. She'd never liked standing out. Maybe that was why she chosen to venture outdoors at such a late hour. There wouldn't be anybody on the street to spot her. The coat really was too ratty to keep wearing, however. Ethel left it be, reasoning her jacket would be enough. Ethel did grab her father's old torch from his toolbox, however, just in case she needed it. She stuffed it inside a canvas bag, which she slung over her shoulder. Then she stepped out onto the street. She shut the front door behind her, and soon she was enveloped by the shadows. She hoped she'd be able to wander the streets uninterrupted. Dare?
Who's this?
Oh. Well, now there's a coincidence. It's been a while. Ethel, isn't it?
But her hopes were soon scuppered.
It was a man. Ooh. That's
Hello.
a big-ass man. That's you.
That is me!
There was a man on the other side of the road. A man who looked almost as washed out as Ethel. It was hard to see in the dark, even with the street lamps illuminating the gray, gloomy pavement, but Ethel recognized the man well enough. He must have been in his 50s now, but he'd been younger when Ethel had first met him. 31, 32, she wasn't sure. He had a lined face, which spoke of his encroaching age, though it was lined in such a way that traces of the young man he'd once been could still be seen. His jaw was still firm, his nose aquiline, and his eyes were striking. The man had a full head of hair despite his age, and it was more sandy brown than gray, shot through with only a few lighter strands. He wasn't a bad-looking man. He was definitely no monster, but Ethel still shrunk away from him. She knew him, but that did little to endear her to him. This was Mr. Browne, one of Ethel's teachers back in primary school. Mr. Browne had been one of the few male teachers at Oxbury Primary. In fact, he might have been the only male teacher, and he'd stood out from the rest, not just because of his gender, but because of his sheer size. He'd been a mountain of a man, so much so he'd had to stoop to enter and exit the classroom. He'd been head and shoulders above Miss Pierce, Mrs. Spriggett, and Mrs. Moyles, quite literally. Ethel always found Mr. Browne intimidating, what with his sheer vastness, not to mention his voice, which had been deep and booming. You hear that, Rose? Deep and booming.
Yeah, I hear that.
Ethel, granted,
Deep.
granted, had been a good deal shorter herself back when she'd been in primary school. But Mr. Browne didn't look any less intimidating over a decade later. Ethel had grown while Mr. Browne had not, but he still eclipsed her. Mr. Browne was taller than Rowan, who had shot up when he started secondary school. Taller, too, than her father, who'd played basketball when he was younger. He was easily taller than 6 feet. He could have even been pushing 7.
My god.
I hate tall people.
Me too.
Mr. Browne was a vast mountain of a man with large hands and large feet, whose coat seemed too small to contain him. Ethel had been afraid of Mr. Browne as a young girl, and little had changed. She was still afraid of him. Ethel shrunk back, shaking. What was Mr. Browne doing outside so very late? It was strange, but...
Oh, dog.
That explained it. He must have been walking his dog. Mr. Browne's dog was a curious sight. It was the polar opposite of its owner, small and runty, where Mr. Browne was tall and wide. The dog and the owner were so mismatched it was almost comical. Comical. The diminutive dog, was he a spaniel? Ethel wasn't sure. Was so tiny, Ethel worried Mr. Browne might step on it by accident. Ethel hadn't known that Mr. Browne had a dog. She didn't know much about Mr. Browne at all. She hadn't thought about him in years. Was the spaniel? Yes! Ethel was sure it was a spaniel. A new addition to his family? Well, whatever. Didn't really matter.
Oh god.
Good luck.
Ethel?
Ethel's shocked silence must have perturbed Mr. Browne, because he sounded concerned when he said,
You are Ethel, aren't you? Ethel Briggs? It's been a while since I saw you, but I remember you. I don't forget any of my students.
Give you 1 second.
I died.
Sorry.
when I scared my bestie.
You're
I do a man's voice, and she's like, "Oh God, I need to leave." Actually,
terrifying. Oh,
how dare be a man in this Yuri game?
I don't like him already. Creep vibes. I don't have a read on him right now. Oh. Yes, I'm Ethel. I'm sorry?
I thought as much. It's nice to know I'm not going completely senile.
Yeah, senile.
I take it you're back home from university then?
Oh, yes.
You're going to Durban?
Yes. Did my parents tell you that?
Hey, they did. Jill told me.
It's pronounced I, with the E at the end. Yeah.
Fucking hell.
It's okay. Yeah, they did. Oh, do you see my parents very much then?
For a moment I forgot. Oh, we go to the pub quiz together sometimes in Wrexham.
Wrexham.
Your father can be very competitive.
Ethel didn't disbelieve that. Jude had always been a bit of a know-it-all. He was the sort of man who liked to watch quiz shows solely so he could yell at the contestants for getting things wrong. And woe betide they loused up any questions on classic rock. That was Jude's specialty. Ethel couldn't imagine her mother joining in a pub quiz all that enthusiastically, but she probably went along for the drinks and the peanuts. Ethel had been to the pub in Wrexham with her parents a couple of times, and Lauren got on rather well with the proprietor, old Jerry. He always made a show of IDing Lauren whenever she ordered a pipe, though it wasn't really necessary. Lauren might have been young for a mother of 3, and she took great pains to ensure her makeup was just so, but she was in her early 42. It was impossible that anybody might mistake her for a teenager, but Lauren still liked the attention. She thrived on it.
I've been seeing quite a bit of your parents, actually, after Eva's funeral. Your mom helped me with the arrangements, and with all of the refreshments.
Welcome in, Gabriel.
Her help was invaluable.
Now that sounded familiar. Ethel thought her mother might have mentioned at some point or another that her old primary school teacher's wife had died recently. She hadn't given it much thought, but she supposed her mother must have been talking about Mr. Browne. He was the only male teacher she'd had, and Ethel didn't think that Miss Pierce, Mrs. Spriggett, or Mrs. Moyles had been having any clandestine lesbian affairs on the sly. They were all too old-fashioned. Ethel wondered briefly if Mr. Browne expected her to comment on his wife's passing, but she was spared the need when he continued once more, readjusting his grip on his dog's lead.
I've been curious about you too. You were one of my better students, even among all the year 5 kiddos. So I ask about you sometimes. I hope you don't mind.
Ethel did mind, as it happened. She didn't like being spoken about behind her back, even if the talk was all positive. She didn't know how to articulate this, however, without sounding rude. Stuck for words, Ethel looked at her feet and said, "Oh, no, it's fine." Sadly, dinner got incinerated. Rip coconut shrimp. Oh no! Thank you for the $2!
Your parents Your parents are quite proud of you, you know? They can't stop boasting about you.
Ethel thought that this was highly unlikely. She might have gotten into a good university, and maybe she was doing well academically, but her parents had never placed much stock into highfalutin things like degrees. Neither of her parents had been to university. Jude had joined the workforce as soon as he'd been able. He'd apprenticed as a plumber, and Lauren hadn't even finished secondary school. She'd packed in school altogether when she'd been 15 so she could pursue her dreams of superstardom. Unfortunately for Lauren, however, these dreams hadn't come into fruition. She'd done some modeling for trashy tabloids for a few years before debuting as an actress in a few sleazy, low-budget flicks Ethel had never wanted to see. Lauren had wound up settling down and starting a family with Jude when she was only 21. Her age, Ethel thought with a shiver, though she'd never seemed particularly bitter about her lot in life.
Ugh, 21! Ugh! It's so tiny.
Lauren had never taken much of an interest in her daughter's creative or academic pursuits, although she'd not been dismissive of them either. Lauren had driven Ethel all the way to Wrexham once a week for her violin lessons with Miss Manderley, lessons she'd paid for without complaining. She'd seemed pleased, too, when Ethel had been accepted into a university of choice, though her pleasure hadn't been much more effusive than a benign, "Oh, that's nice, dear. Suppose we'll have to get your student grant sorted out then, eh?" Ethel found it hard to believe that her mother had been boasting about her academically talented daughter. Lauren would have been more inclined to boast if Ethel had started to dress more fashionably, or if she learned how to apply eyeliner without making her eyes water, or if she'd started her own successful TikTok channel. Lauren had a TikTok account of her own where she filmed herself putting on makeup, taking off makeup, showing off her nails, and singing along to her favorite pop songs. Lauren was actually fairly successful on the platform, and she'd managed to rack up over 300,000 followers in the span of 2 years. Wow.
Of course, she's an influencer.
She sometimes did sponsorships with makeup brands, and it was her newfound fame which had paid for Manny's fancy gaming PC. Gaming PC? At 13? Are you kidding? Jude's new guitar.
What the fuck?
The family's holiday in Australia. Yeah, that's ridiculous. A gaming PC at 13? My parents would never.
What the fuck?
If Ethel had been like Lauren, bouncy and cheerful, Ethel imagined her mother might have been more inclined to boast about her. But as it was, Ethel thought it was doubtful. It wasn't hard to imagine that Mr. Browne cared about Ethel's academic achievements more than her own parents did. Still, it was kind of him, Ethel supposed, to bother spinning her a white lie like that. He must have been trying to cheer her up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where are my manners? You'll be on your Christmas holidays now, won't you? I doubt you'll want to talk about university much right now.
Oh, not really.
I thought as much. I'm sorry for bringing it up. I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable.
The thought was appreciated, but Ethel thought it was rather too late for that. She already felt uncomfortable. That wasn't necessarily Mr. Browne's fault, however. She felt uncomfortable about most things in life. That was just how she was. A man in an Ebby game? Blasphemy. Oh, honey. It's mostly just because I only play, I only stream Ebby's, Yuri games. Just because, like...
Yuri!
Just because, one, I prefer Yuri, and two, because I can voice act everybody, like, reliably, or I can, like, invite someone on who can voice act with me. But,
Hi, it's me.
and also yumemi, who we'll get around to Blackberry Honey somewhere at some point, but she's very busy again. But yeah, Rose and I have played some of Ebby's BL games off stream.
Don't mention them, I miss them.
Me too! We still have to continue Rael. Oh my god, we're missing out. Ugh. Do you want to after
We
the
are
stream?
missing out! Yeah, sounds good. I'll leave you on your merry way, but I am curious. What are you doing going for a walk at this hour? It's very dark outside, and I think it might start raining soon. Are you sure you'll be alright?
Thank you, but I'll be fine.
Are you sure?
Ethel nodded. I have my phone with me, and I even brought my dad's old torch if it gets too dark. It should be able to light the way, but I won't be gone for long. I just wanted to go looking for bats.
Bats?
Yes, and nightjars. My dad took me out to look for them sometimes when I was little. I know my way around the forest, so it should be fine.
If you say so.
Mr. Browne didn't look wholly reassured, but he didn't try to question Ethel further. Not intimately familiar with these games, but enjoying the VA from you two. Thank you, Bunny! Maybe he didn't have the time for it. His dog was beginning to tug on his lead, yipping fiercely as he did. Mr. Browne's dog might have been small, but he had quite the set of light lungs on him, and clearly wasn't afraid of using them.
Oh, it looks like his lordship's here getting hungry. I can't keep him waiting, not if I don't want him to wake up half of the blasted village. I shall be off now. but do take care of yourself. I know you're a great grown lads by now, but the woods can be perilous at night. Even if you have a torch and you know your way, the woods are a lot bigger than they look. Wouldn't want you getting lost. And you do know what happened to the Delaney girl, don't you? Delaney, I guess?
Well, of course Ethel knew what had happened to that Delaney girl. Everybody in Oxbury did. It had been quite the topic of conversation when it had happened. Ethel hadn't been living in Oxbury then. She'd just started university in Durham, and she'd been desperately trying to keep her head above the water, but Lauren had told her all about it. Her mother had called her breathless to tell her that a girl had gone missing. And it wouldn't be the first time either! Don't you remember that Chloe girl? You were still in primary school at the time, but that caused such a stir too. I wonder if the cases are related. Ethel hadn't liked the way her mother had talked about the girl's disappearance, as though it was some amusing piece of gossip. No different from who was dating who on Love Island. Not the Love Island reference.
Oh, God. Didn't you watch Love Island?
No, I didn't. I really wanted to watch Love Island, but I never got the chance. Cause,
No.
Like, babes, it's only streaming on, like, Peacock, which is so stupid. Like, what is Peacock? Who is Peacock?
What the fuck is a peacock?
Like, I need the big three to, like, go back to having a monopoly. Like, what do you mean? Oh yeah, it's on Gloopy. You can watch it on Pulu. You can watch it on Pooby.
Like, what the fuck are those?
Like, who are you? Go away.
Welcome in Fish!
No, literally!
It's on Hulu?
I don't have Hulu. Anyway.
I guess you're getting Hulu now.
I'm not getting Hulu to watch Love Island.
Yeah, you're not getting Hulu, thank God.
I'm so curious about Love Island though, because I got so many clips of it on TikTok.
Of course you get them from TikTok.
No, because like they're one of them blew up in particular because like there was so much strange shit that was happening on Love Island. Like there was one there was this one girl who like she got on the show and at the start of the show, you know, everybody's like, oh yeah, you know, this is what I do for work, and this one girl was like, I'm an influencer. And so people watching the show obviously went to her social media because the game happens in real time. So they film it, edit it, put it out, and then what happens the next week like actually happens in real time. And the appeal of the show was that people could vote on like what was happening to a degree. See you later, John. And so people liked having that interactive aspect. But oh my god. So obviously these people go to her social media account and they see that she's like really right-wing and like spreading a bunch of hateful rhetoric. And so people are like, kick her off the show. And so one episode, the episode starts off, and if you've watched any like trashy reality TV, you know how there's like the narrator at the beginning, like, it's another beautiful day on Love Island. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the water's beautiful. This lady has been ejected from the show, and our contestants today are doing this. It's just like threw it in there and didn't acknowledge it again. And that was it. Like,
bye.
Like some people, it was so subtle really that funny. Some people straight up just didn't notice. This lady's gone anyway. Well, no, literally, both of you same brain cell. Like, it's just, it was so good. It was so funny.
Welcome in Optical Shadows.
That's really funny.
Lady's name didn't happen to be Felicia, did it? No, I don't remember what her name was. I think it started with Y, but I don't remember. I just thought the whole thing was so funny. Anyway.
She'd found it rather tasteless. Ethel hadn't known the missing girl. She'd not been a local of Oxbury. According to the local papers, she'd been staying there for a couple of days with a couple of relatives, and she didn't remember her first name. She thought it'd been something unusual, though. Something exotic? India, maybe? Indigo? Well, in any case, The girl last been sighted near the edge of the woods by a dog walker.
The police had combed every inch of the forest, but her body had never been discovered. As if there was a body to uncover at all. Oh no! The last person to see you is a dog walker at the edge of the woods?
It was possible she'd grown bored of being stuck in Oxbury and she'd run away. There was no guarantee she'd come to a sticky end, and neither was there any evidence, but Ethel still wondered. And so, it seemed, did Mr. Browne. It had been almost 3 years since the young Miss Delaney's disappearance, but it had cast something of a pall over Oxbury. As a teacher, Mr. Browne must have been more concerned than most. He had spent the better part of his life looking after small children, cleaning skinned knees and breaking up arguments over who stole whose favorite toy. Ethel could hardly fault Mr. Browne for worrying, but his concern still rankled. There was something uncomfortably cloying about it. Did Mr. Browne still regard her as a child? Was that why he was lecturing her? Ethel was 21 now, but she knew Mr. Browne would never regard her as an adult in her own right. How could he, when he'd known her as a 9-year-old? This realization was an uncomfortable one. It made Ethel cringe. I'll be fine, really. I know my way around and I have my phone. If I do get lost, I can call for help. Who Ethel would call if she got lost exactly was a mystery even to her. She could hardly call her parents, given they were in Australia, and she knew she wouldn't have the courage to call the police. Ethel would have hesitated to dial 999 even if her home had been broken into by a couple of machete-wielding muggers. She wouldn't have wanted to be a burden.
Girl.
God, she's just like me! That reminds me of like a Tumblr post that I saw that it was like someone saying, I'm sorry for being a burden. The lifeguard that is saving me what?
Also, my family brought me food. Yippee!
Yippee!
Girl mood.
God, she's just like me. I love also how like she's like really shy when she's talking and inside she's like, God, I wouldn't do this for the life of God.
No, literally. I like that aspect of a character. Where it's like she has so many thoughts inside her head. Does anybody else need to hear them? Nah.
Yeah, well, only us, the audience, I guess.
Welcome in MCCN? That's an awesome name. What year is it?
Like, I imagine her on like a casual Monday be like, oh yeah, it's so sad what happened to Miss whatever her name is, and then like she's thinking, God, I want to eat some pussy. Or something, I don't know.
No, she would.
She would.
People could break into my house to steal stuff and my first thought would be, oh man, getting in the way of these people's theft. I'm such a bother. Bro.
Me! I would like look at the thief and be like, oh, I'm sorry for bothering you, I'll leave.
She's so mean, for real.
Maybe Mr. Browne realized this. He had known Ethel for several years, but he chose, rather tactfully, not to comment upon it. Instead, he nodded and said,
Very good. Take care then, and make sure you come back before it rains, eh?
Thank you. I'll, see you later?
I'm sure you will. If you need anything while your parents are away, remember, Sparky and I are just a few doors away. Down.
Sparky? Was that the name of Mr. Browne's dog? Ethel supposed it must have been. Though, what a small dog like Sparky could possibly do to help her, or anybody for that matter, was a mystery. Ethel doubted she would have cause to call on Mr. Browne, or on Sparky, during the ensuing days, but she didn't say this. Instead, she nodded and thanked Mr. Browne, who smiled in return.
Good night then, Ethel. I hope you have luck finding your beds.
I hope so too. Ethel hadn't had much luck during the last few months, not since the start of her 3rd and final year at university. She could have used a bit of good fortune. Mr. Browne gave Ethel a brief wave with the hand which wasn't occupied with Sparky's leash and turned. Mr. Browne's footsteps faded away, as did the sounds of Sparky's indignant yapping, though this took far longer to fade.
Sparky was not happy. I don't know. I don't think Mr. Browne is creepy. I think Ethel is just hates everything.
Yeah.
He seems nice.
Yeah. I think he was just like, trying to be kind and all that.
Yeah. For such a small dog, Sparky was awfully loud. Ethel watched for a few moments motionless. Then she spun on her heels. It was time to go to the forest. Ethel began to walk through the village once more, picking her way through the latticework of shadows which were slowly lengthening on the ground. Her footfalls were dull on the pavement. A series of muted sounds which offered little competition when contrasted with the mournful moaning of the wind. It had been breezy when Ethel first stepped outdoors, but the wind was beginning to pick up now. It tugged at her braided hair and she shivered. She should have expected the poor weather, given it was very early January, but she was still surprised by just how frigid it was. What do you mean? You live in the UK and you're thinking, oh man, this cold weather is so bizarre. Girl? What was the temperature? Must have been in the single digits.
Girl, go back and get your damn jacket.
Girl. No, she's not doing that.
Of course not. This girl has no self-preservation instinct.
Ethel looked up at the sky, which hung above her, dark and mysterious. The clouds were grim, foreboding even, but they didn't look numerous enough to promise rain. Maybe Mr. Browne had been wrong about the weather. But Mr. Browne was a sensible man, and it seemed unlikely he would make a mistake, even, or perhaps especially, about something as mundane as the weather. She'd have to be quick about her walk if she didn't want to get drenched. She'd step into the woods and make a neat circuit about the trees. Then, after 15 minutes, she would head back. Yes, that would be fine. She wouldn't wander too far. What was the point? It wasn't like Oxbury's Forest was all that exciting either. It was in a dream-like manner that Ethel navigated the streets. As she did, the wind blew. It sounded sad, like a wounded animal. Maybe coming out here was a mistake after all. What was the point in coming all the way out here anyway? There was nothing that Ethel really wanted to do in the woods. She was just trying to run away from the responsibilities, like she had after Clementine. But Ethel didn't want to think about that. It was with uncertain eyes that Ethel glanced about the dense woodland which surrounded her. In the distance, somewhere far above her head, an owl hooted. The sound split the air quite suddenly and Ethel jumped. She hadn't expected it. Woo-hoo! She could feel her pulse hammering uncomfortably in the base of her neck. Ethel had been into the forest many, many times before. Sometimes with her brothers. Sometimes with her parents and sometimes with her brothers. Though more often than not on her own, but it did feel different tonight. Maybe it was because of Mr. Browne's warning. That Delaney girl was on Ethel's mind. It felt almost as if she were watching her from the shadows, giggling at Ethel's unease. There was something disconcerting about the woods tonight. Something devouring. Pretty woods. A little scary though. It seemed almost to be inviting her in. But beneath its cordiality there lurked something uncompromising. When Ethel closed her eyes, she thought she could even hear strange whispers upon the breeze. But surely that was silly. Nothing lived in the forest apart from rabbits, mice, and the odd badger. There was nothing waiting in the woods for her. She was being stupid. Ethel took a deep breath. Then she stepped forwards. The loose leaves strewn on the cold, hard ground crunched beneath her soles. And once again an owl hooted. This time, however, it didn't startle her. She was prepared for it. Ethel continued to tramp through the woods, her father's chunky torch in hand. It wasn't a very reliable source of light, it kept gutting in and out, but at least it had a dual purpose. If push came to shove, and she was set upon by some miscreant, it was heavy enough that she could use it as a weapon. Ethel doubted anybody would attack her, however, despite Mr. Browne's warnings. She was in Hawkesbury, for goodness sake. It wasn't the sort of place where people were attacked. Hell, not even the missing Delaney girl had been attacked, she'd simply disappeared. Besides, it wasn't like Ethel had anything on her that was worth stealing. Her phone was an old Samsung at least 6 generations out of date, so delightfully archaic in the current year that Clementine had laughed at her. She'd always joked that Ethel's phone belonged in a museum. Ethel hadn't bothered to bring her wallet with her either. There weren't any shops open this late. There were scarcely any shops in Hawkesbury at all, save for the corner shop owned by the Lilly family, and that closed at 6 o'clock. 6 had already come, then passed a long time ago. Now it was almost 9 o'clock and Ethel could feel it. The wind blew, uncomfortably cold, trailing its invisible fingers against Ethel's cheeks. Mr. Browne had warned that it might rain, but it felt so cold, snow was beginning to seem more likely. Go get your jacket! Though it had been cold for the last month, it hadn't snowed yet. It had been a predictably British sort of a Christmas. Not white, but brown and grey and squatty. There had been no pure, white sheets of incorruptible snow, nor even a few token powdery flakes falling from the sky. There had, however, been rain, and plenty of it. Rain which had tipped down in stair rods on Christmas Eve and Boxing Day. It hadn't rained on Christmas itself, which had been something of a small mercy, but it had been continuously cloudy and overcast throughout the holy day. Ethel hadn't gone outside on Christmas, though her parents and her brothers had. They'd asked if she'd like to take a turn in the woods herself to get some color into her cheeks, but Ethel had declined these generous invitations. Ethel thought it'd be too muddy, and she hadn't want to twist her ankle. Fortunately, it hadn't rained at all in the ensuing week. The forest floor might have once been squelching mud and mire, but now the dirt was reassuringly cold and compact. Ethel was unsure whether that would last for very long, however, not if it really did begin to rain.
When are we meeting the mushroom girl?
No, literally.
The moon overhead was round and full that night, just like a perfect pearl, an earring nestled in the ear of a beautiful woman. Lauren had nagged Ethel to get her own ears pierced, but Ethel had never wanted to go along with it. Ethel! She'd worried that it would hurt. Anyway, she hadn't really seen the point in it. She didn't understand the appeal of poking holes in herself, not so she could gussy herself up with studs and hoops and glinting bits of gold. She had no interest in making herself a target for any thieving magpies. Lauren had always laughed at Ethel's unease. Oh, don't be so dopey. Heaps of girls even younger than you get their ears pierced. I was only 7 when I had mine done, and it didn't hurt at all. But Ethel had remained firm. 7? Do you have your ears pierced?
I had my ears pierced when I was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, I think I told you once, I'm allergic to the metal of the...
Oh, that's
of
right, yeah.
I remember I wanted to buy you a pair of earrings at one point, and then you told me not to because you were allergic.
Yeah, the fucking... they put me once when I was a child, and my ears were turning red, and it started to hurt, and I started crying.
Oh no!
And my parents were like, "I think you are allergic to those, so nope." I only wear magnetic ones. That are not allergic and all that.
Magnetic earrings are so
Do
cute,
you?
though.
Yeah.
I think
They are cute.
my holes are probably about to close, though. I should probably pierce them, wear earrings again. Hey, Esther Rose, this has been a very awesome stream so far. Hope Fenrir's doing well. Hope you and your friends are doing well. And thank you very much for making my day so much better. Thank you, Robot. Thank you for sticking around. We really appreciate it. Hi, Brazilian fan here. Hi, hello from the States.
Hello from your wife, I guess.
She could be stubborn about the strangest of things. Lauren had been bemused by her daughter's indifference, but she hadn't pushed the issue. Not too much, at least. Instead, Lauren had shrugged and said, "Oh well, suit yourself. You are being daft, though, Effie."
She has an accent now. No, she doesn't. That was how most of Ethel's conversations with her mother
went. She was always calling her daft. Sometimes Ethel took offense, even though it was a very mild insult. Better even than the things the kids said on the playground. Sometimes, however, she thought that her mother had a point. She really was daft. She was being daft right now, wandering through the woods so very late at night. But still, she didn't stop. Have some good food, Bunny. She kept on walking, the foliage crunching underfoot. Sometimes Ethel liked to imagine that she was a heroine from a romantic poem when she wandered through the woods. A nameless beauty Lord Byron might have committed to paper, who walked with all the grace of the night itself. But Ethel knew that this was nothing more than a fantasy. She was, in all aspects, hopefully plain. Maybe that was why Clementine had... No? Ethel wasn't going to think about that.
About her poor ex.
She did have to think about her thesis, however, it was weighing on her. Why, she wondered, had she been silly enough to write her thesis on romantic poets when they focused so intensely, obsessively even, on things which were beautiful? If they weren't waxing poetic on beautiful women, then they were writing of the beauties of nature, of lakes and forests and hills and dizzyingly high cliffs capped with snow. Sometimes Ethel liked to read about the beauties of nature. It was rarer that she liked to read about beautiful women. The former was uplifting, but the latter was just depressing. Depressing! Was that why she was struggling with her thesis so much? Was it the subject matter? Ethel didn't think she'd lost interest in her poetry, but her enthusiasm had definitely dwindled. Maybe it was inevitable, when Clementine had been the one to pique her interest in the subject. Clementine had always been very passionate about poetry, romantic poetry in particular. Through reading these old poems with Clementine, Ethel had found something in them to appreciate herself, something she'd never noticed before. But maybe it wasn't the words of these poems she'd appreciated, but the way they sounded in Clementine's mouth when she spoke them. Had Ethel only pretended to be interested in poetry because she wanted to have more in common with Clementine? In retrospect, that seemed depressingly likely. Oh no!
Oh no.
Gonna try and do my
poor
own
girl.
message? Found your content during a dark time. You were something I looked forward to when I had to go home from school. It had very cozy energy about you, so yeah. Oh, that's so sweet! Thank you! I'm really happy that I was able to be something like that for you. Take care, okay? Take care of yourself. Ethel had wanted Clementine to like her. She'd been almost slavish, I think, in the way she'd followed her about, laughing at all of her jokes a little too loudly, affirming that, yes, of course all of her essays were wonderfully original. She did not even offer to be Clementine's caddy when they'd been on campus. Ethel had been only too happy to buy Clementine drinks from the vending machine or snacks from the student shop whenever she so desired. Ethel had wanted Clementine to like her so badly for such a long time. Then Clementine had liked her, and it had been wonderful. For over a year, Ethel had been suspended upon the clouds. Nothing could have hurt her, until it all came crashing down. Had that been inevitable? Maybe she should have expected it. Ethel shuddered. She felt very, very cold and uncomfortable alongside it. This coldness did not abate the further Ethel walked into the woods. An icy chill coiled inside her guts, clenched about her heart like a vice. She could feel it, too, upon the crown of her head, trickling down her neck. She could feel... Oh... Was that rain? Looked like Mr. Browne had been right. The rain came slowly at first and irregularly, but it didn't take long before spears of the stuff started pelting down. The rain made everything look faint and blurry, as if it was being viewed through a filter. Something in the undergrowth rustled, and Ethel glanced in its direction, the wind whipping her hair about her face. What was that? Ethel knew the answer to that was probably nothing. Or if it wasn't nothing, then it was a small, insignificant sort of something. Must have been a rabbit seeking shelter from the rain, that or a vole, or maybe a sodden squirrel. There was nothing for Ethel to worry about, apart from the miserable weather, of course. Ethel shouldn't have ventured so far into the woods, but it was too late to worry about that now. She couldn't double back on herself in hopes of avoiding the rain. Her home was a good half-hour walk away. Ethel had come farther than she'd meant to, and had fallen, quite literally, off the beaten path. The trees now rose up about her, dark and ominous, like mute watchmen standing sentinel. Ethel looked about worriedly. She had no idea when the rain was going to stop, but she doubted it would be anytime soon. She had to take shelter somewhere. But where? What about the church? St. Catherine's was an old crooked building which bordered the forest. It was located on the fringe of Oxbury, away from the rest of the houses. Ethel's parents weren't religious, but her grandmother was, and she'd taken Ethel to St. Catherine's a few times in the past, mostly for Easter and Christmas services, where they sang hymns praising a god none of them put all that much stock in. Ethel wasn't very religious either. She must have inherited it from her father, just like his freckles. But she did wonder on occasions if the world was governed by some greater power nobody could see. Ethel had even tried praying a few times as it happened, to see if some mysterious greater being would answer. But she'd felt silly and self-conscious, even though she'd been on her own, and she'd soon stopped. She hadn't been able to rid herself of the mental image of her father, scoffing as he said, "Oh yeah, this is you, isn't it, technically? We thought Jude was a guy, but..."
Wait, which one is this? Oh, whatever, who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. God? What a load of bollocks. The only god I believe in is Jimi Hendrix. What the fuck?
Ethel hadn't been about to pray to Jimi Hendrix, of course. And the mere idea had been so silly it had dampened her momentary religious musings. Ethel wasn't sure if she believed in God, but if he did exist, she was sure he wouldn't mind if she took shelter in one of his churches for a while. If she could avoid the worst of the rain, then she would have nothing negative to say on the subject of organized religion in the foreseeable future. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about...
What the fuck is Jimi Hendrix?
He's like some big superstar. I forget what he's famous for.
Amazing.
Jimi Hendrix. A guitarist. But, I'm thinking about how, I heard the story recently. My cousin was being introduced to, like the concept of God, right? And, like one of my family members took him to a church. And they were trying to explain church to him, and so they were like, "Oh, okay, do you see that? That's God's house." And my cousin, he's like 5 or 6 at the time, looks around the parking lot and says, "Where's God's car?" Which is a very valid question to ask, because...
It is. What did they answer to that?
I don't think they finished the story after that. But
No.
it's like, not like that, I think. It's in the shop.
True.
It wasn't like Ethel had any particular vendetta against Christianity anyway. Not like her father, who railed against it as being illogical and impractical. Jude found a lot of things illogical and impractical. Ethel knew that her love for English literature ranked quite highly on his list. Ethel bit her lip. Then she began to pick her way through the forest. The rain was coming down even harder now, thick and fast and unforgiving, and it obscured her vision. It didn't help that it was so dark either. The light from Jude's old torch wasn't doing much to help. It was hard for Ethel to keep her footing. The floor was mulchy and it was festooned with roots, arched, raised things which threatened to trip Ethel at every step. Ethel sidestepped a thorn bush and very nearly walked smack dab into a tree, though she was able to circumnavigate it just in time. That had been a close call. As little as Ethel enjoyed being rained on, she enjoyed the thought of breaking a limb even less. Ethel continued to walk, picking up speed as she did. The church wasn't so far away now. She'd be able to duck inside and dry herself off, provided, of course, that the door was unlocked. She broke through the last line of trees, her clothes sticking to her skin like tarpaulin, and looked up at St. Catherine's. The church was small and squat, but it did look oddly imposing in the dark, its tiled roof superimposed against the wickedly thin crescent moon. This is beautiful, by the way. Oof!
Oh, pretty.
St. Catherine's arched wooden door loomed over Ethel as she approached it, almost consuming in the darkness. Ethel had been sure she'd be able to take shelter here, like the persecuted Esmeralda and the Hunchback of Notre Dame, but maybe not. Wouldn't have been too surprising if the warden had locked the church come sunset. Wouldn't do to have vandals laying waste to its interior, making off with the burnished bronze candlesticks and the prayer mats. Why is this in my recommended? I don't know, man. Means you like stuff that's similar to me, which means you should stick around.
No, actually, no, actually I know why. Toxic Yuri.
Correct. Ethel didn't think there was anything worth nicking in St. Catherine's, but some people would take anything if it wasn't nailed down. Wasn't like there was much else to do in Oxbury other than look for the potentially decomposing corpse of the presumably dead Delaney girl. But now she'd come this far, she felt compelled to try. Would have been foolish to back down now. Ethel paused to wipe her brown free of rainwater. Not that it much mattered, really, given how fiercely the rain was still pouring down. Then she reached for the wooden door of St. Catherine's. She pressed her palm against the door and pushed inwards. She didn't expect the door to give way beneath her touch. She was starting to feel decidedly pessimistic, but Ethel gasped, surprised, as the door cleaved beneath her touch. So it was open after all. That was reassuring. Ethel pushed against the door with more strength than before, and the door swung inwards. The door was heavy, but it offered little resistance, creaking loudly like some subterranean monster. Ethel could see a sliver of the church through the gap which emerged, and she could see it was dark. This, however, was to be expected. It was very late at night. It seemed unlikely that there would be anybody else there at such an hour. She would have been alarmed, in fact, if there was. It came as a great surprise, therefore, when Ethel finally slipped inside the building, and she saw her.
So is this our mushroom girl, or is it Clementine?
Probably your mushroom girl. Detesto.
Woof! Yeah, mushroom girl!
Yeah!
There was a girl standing in the chancel, framed by the stained glass window. Ethel couldn't see the girl's face, but she could see how slender her waist was, how shapely her calves.
Such normal things to comment on.
The girl wasn't dressed for a downpour. She wasn't dressed for a British winter in general, the rain notwithstanding. The girl's clothes were simple. A summer dress cinched in the back with a ribbon. Her legs were bare. She wore no leggings nor any tights. Didn't even look like she was wearing socks. Instead, she wore a pair of sandals which had the slightest suggestion of a heel. The back of the girl's feet were exposed, feet which were arched and raised a couple of centimeters above the floor. The girl was only standing, but there was a curious grace to her, even as she remained motionless, which made Ethel's heart ache. Ethel had yet to see her face, but she didn't need to. She already knew that this girl would be heartbreakingly beautiful. The girl wasn't even a little bit damp, not like Ethel. She must have arrived at the church before the rain had started. That, or she had the foresight to bring an umbrella with her. Why, Ethel wondered, hadn't she brought an umbrella too? She could have ducked back inside after Mr. Browne had warned her about the rain to retrieve one. Wouldn't that have been the sensible thing to do? Ethel hadn't wanted to do the sensible thing, however. She hadn't wanted to listen to Mr. Browne. Mr. Browne had been her teacher once, and she wanted to prove to herself she wasn't a child anymore, that she no longer had to take his advice. How very wrong she was. Once more, her mother's cheerful castigations returned to Ethel. Oh well, suit yourself. You are being daft, though, Effie. Why was it that all of the adults in her life seemed to know better than she did? Lauren had never been to university and never had Jude, but they were far more sensible. Maybe it was because, no matter what Ethel liked to tell herself, she wasn't a real adult herself. She was still a child, a little girl playing pretend.
Daft!
But there was little sense standing there sadly, smelling of petrichor, slowly dribbling rainwater all over the uneven stone floor. The girl was not simply standing there. She was singing. Ethel recognized the song which tumbled from her lips, pure and clear as spring water. It was Ave Maria. Ethel stood there, stunned into silence.
You know what it's time for, Rose? Ave Maria!
Do you want me to sing Ave Maria?
No, it's okay.
Yeah, sure, what the hell.
Maria!
No, what the hell, sure.
I actually don't know.
Something like that, I don't know. Yeah, me neither.
The more the girl sang, the less the rest of the world seemed to matter. The steady pitter-patter of the rain fell away. It simply ceased to exist. For several moments it was just Ethel and the girl's lovely lyrical voice. Ethel stood there dumbly, letting the girl's voice wash over her when...
My. What do we have here?
Woohoo!
Hello, ma'am.
Oh! Ethel jumped as the girl turned about, her bobbed hair fluttering. The girl was standing in such a way that the stained glass window at the back of the church framed her face perfectly. The positioning of it was so perfect, in fact, it looked like a shot from a movie. The girl, a trained actress, told precisely where to stand. The moonlight which shone through the window backlit the girl's short hair, so it glowed, just like a dark, inverted halo. The girl didn't look like any of the angels Ethel had seen pictured before, however. Not the romantic sort with golden locks and baby blues, nor the biblically accurate ones made of flickering flames and hundreds of vast, staring eyes. The girl only had 2 eyes, which were a position where they should have been, and framed with a sweep of dark lashes. Her nose was snub, and her lips curved upwards into a small smile. Her skin, meanwhile, was very white. She didn't have wings, and neither did she wear a robe, though her pale green dress looked almost angelic. There was too much mischief in her smile for her countenance to be truly seraphic. Seraphic? But she still took Ethel's breath away.
Hello, stranger. I've not seen you around before. Not that that's saying much, I guess. I don't know many people around here. Were you watching me?
Ethel's face, which had always had a pinkish undertone, now turned red. She dropped her gaze to her feet and mumbled. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to...
So, you were watching me?
Ethel gnawed on the damp, fleshy inside her cheek. A few moments of silence passed. Silence which was filled with the steady pitter-patter of the rain outside, which fell on the grass and the dirt and all of the tombstones. Ethel could feel her palms beginning to sweat. Slowly, like a mechanical doll in need of recalibrating, she nodded.
I thought so. I'm glad you're not a liar. I like honest girls.
Girl. Ethel frowned. Manny had taken great offense about being called a boy the moment he'd started secondary school. He was in year 9 now, but his voice had dropped and he already had facial hair, and everybody called him a young man. Why then did Ethel have to be a girl when she was already 21? She was too old for it, wasn't she?
Oh? Don't you like being called a girl? I did not offend you, did I?
Oh, no, it's fine. I don't mind. I probably offended you more with my staring. I should have said something. I'm sorry?
Oh, you don't need to apologize, silly. I don't mind.
You don't. The girl shook her head.
I was only teasing. It might be rude to eavesdrop, but I prefer singing when I have a captive audience. Otherwise, it feels a bit pointless. So, what did you think?
About what?
About my singing, obviously. Was it good? Great? The best thing you have ever heard?
You were... enchanting.
Enchanting, eh? That's a bit more flowery than I was expecting. Do you like reading by any chance?
I study English literature at university, so I guess...
I knew it! You did give me that impression. So,
The girl took a seat upon the pew, then shot Ethel a look which could only be described as, "Come hither." With a thin, half-moon smile, she patted the pew, her pale hand cleaving through the darkness.
why don't you come here and talk to me? It feels like it's been an age since I last had a chat with a girl my age, and I'm dying for it. Explorer is so boring.
Ethel hung back, abashed, almost afraid at the girl's insistences. Why was this girl so interested in her? She wasn't anything special. It seemed ludicrous, unthinkable even, that she should even care. Welcome back, Bruce. The girl really must have been bored. Was Ethel her last resort? A last-ditch attempt to keep herself amused?
Hello?
The girl cocked her head to one side, her smile an amused, impish one.
Didn't you hear me? I would have thought the rain would have washed those ears of yours out. Won't you come and sit with me? I can hardly have a conversation with you from all the way across the church. Unless you're afraid that I might bite.
Ethel allowed herself to think briefly of the girl's bite, of sharp incisors digging into her throat like something from a gothic novel, and she shivered.
She wasn't sure if she wholly disliked that thought, and this left her feeling unsettled.
Oh, you're so gay.
Oh,
tongue
my
bad.
God.
Oh, your tongue horrendously bad.
Oh, no, it's fine. I'm not afraid. I'll sit. Ethel crossed the church, her soul slapping against the flagstones. Thud, and sat. She was still damp, and droplets of water slid from her clothes as she walked. Small puddles tracked her progress, from the entrance of the church with its domed door, all the way to the pew where she settled herself. Ethel's long skirt was clinging to her thighs, and her sweater was uncomfortably damp. Ethel tended to wear baggy, oversized clothes, but the rainwater had rendered them uncomfortably skin-tight. She would have felt self-conscious regardless, being seen in such a state by anybody, even Mr. Browne, but being perceived by a girl as pretty as... whatever her name was? She looked like she could have been a Celeste, or even a Celine? Wasn't doing her self-esteem any favors. Wetly, Ethel looked down at her lap, and wanly, she threaded her fingers together. So, she had sat, just as the girl had asked her. Now what?
My, you're quite the awkward one, aren't you? You have barely said more than a word to me since seeing me. Please, don't tell me you're really afraid of me.
Wetly indeed.
Yeah, I get her.
Holy shit. That's really
I'll
funny.
also go wet, anyways.
What? Oh, no. I'm... just shy. I'm sorry.
Runs blushing from the chat. Sorry. You're good. It's really funny.
You've not done anything wrong. This is all my fault. The girl frowned, one hand resting beneath her chin.
You say it's your fault, but I don't think you have done anything wrong either.
You don't?
No, I don't. I don't see why you feel the need to apologize. I'm not upset. I was just stating a fact. You're so quiet. I was worrying whether I'd done something to upset you. And I guess it's just the way you are.
I've never been very good at small talk. I never really know what to say, so... I'm sorry. I must be so boring.
Now, I'll be the judge of that. I've not known you long enough to find you boring, and I wouldn't have started talking to you in the first place if you hadn't piqued my interest. You don't think I'm a poor judge of character, do you?
In this case, maybe she was, but Ethel was so afraid of offending the girl, even inadvertently, she hastily said, I don't think so, but it's hard to say. I mean, I don't know you very well.
You raise a good point. We are strangers, and this has been a pretty strange meeting. I wouldn't be surprised if you are wondering who this crazy girl is, who's been singing by herself in the church at night. I must seem like a total nutter.
I don't know if I'd say that.
You probably wouldn't, no. I think you're too considerate. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what you're thinking, though.
Well...
Go on. You can be honest with me. You must think I'm barmy.
I don't know if I'd call you that. But this is a bit strange, I suppose.
Oh, come on. You're being too generous. I know I'm more than a bit strange.
Your hobbies might be a bit... unusual, I guess.
Again with the tact. You'll make a good politician.
But who am I to judge? I went for a walk in the woods late at night when I knew it was gonna rain. I'm not much better.
I guess not. Maybe that's what brought us together then?
What, the rain?
No, silly. I think there's a deeper meaning behind our meeting than this.
Deeper.
Yeah. We must be like two alike souls. Or maybe two birds of a feather, if that doesn't sound too out there. We're both weirdos, so we ought to stick together. The world isn't very accepting of people like us. Now, what's your name? Surely you must have one.
Oh, I'm Ethel. Ethel's voice was quiet when she replied, as if she was repeating a curse word. And to her ears, it might as well have been one. As far as names went, Ethel wasn't very flattering. It was so old-fashioned, it spoke more of elderly spinsters than it did 21-year-olds. Shania had teased Ethel about her name incessantly, as though she hadn't been named after the country singer.
Country singer. Wait, hold on. Chat, how do we pronounce that? I think it's gonna keep coming up.
Ethel would have preferred to be a Shania any day of the week over a boring old Ethel, though.
How do you pronounce that name? Twain? How do I pronounce the first name, though? Canadian.
Huh.
Shania? Like... You're saying it right? Okay, cool. Alright.
Nice.
Ethel often resented her parents for landing her with that name, though it was mostly Lauren's fault, she supposed, for naming her after her grandmother, Ethel's great-grandmother, especially when her brothers had suitably modern names. Why was she the only one stuck with a name plucked straight from the dusty archives of a Victorian poorhouse? It was so unfair. The girl didn't seem to mind Ethel's name, however, because she laughed.
Ethel, how pretty.
Oh, it isn't. You're teasing me.
No, I'm not. Honest to God. We're in a church and I've never dared to take the Lord's name in vain. I'm a good Christian like that, you know?
You are?
No. Now I really am pulling your leg.
Right. Well, I suspected as much.
You shouldn't be so self-conscious though. Ethel's a perfectly nice name. I've met girls who were saddled with much, much worse.
Right, well, try telling that to Shania.
Who's Shania?
Oh, nobody. She doesn't matter. Not anymore. You wouldn't know her. Ethel's voice trailed off. Then she frowned. By the way, where are you from? You aren't a local, are you?
Oh no, thank the god I don't believe in it for it. This village is so small, I think I would go mad. Madder than I am, I mean, if I had to live here.
Are you visiting, then?
That's right. I'm here to stay with my grandparents over the holidays. My parents are pretty busy right now, so they dumped me here. I've only been here for a couple of days, but I'm already bored out of my tree. I couldn't sleep, so I went for a walk. Figured I might as well stretch my legs. I was afraid I would go stir crazy otherwise, but maybe it's too late for that.
I see. Will you be staying in Oxbury for long?
Not too long. My parents will be picking me up in a few days.
Oh. Right. Of course. Ethel tried to keep the disappointment from her voice when she spoke. Why should she care when the girl went home? She hardly knew her. She still didn't know her name, in fact. Maybe, Ethel thought worriedly, she should have asked the girl that first, before inquiring if she was a local to the area. That would have been the polite thing to do. But Ethel spoke to others so rarely, she found it difficult to know what the polite thing to do was. She was so awkward. Well, there was time enough to right this oversight. I'm sorry, but it just occurred to me. What?
I might not have been born here, but I am pretty familiar with this village. I know my way around rather well, which is how I wound up here. Not that that's saying very much, since there isn't all that much to know, but you know what I mean.
Right. Ethel blinked. Her plans to ask for the girl's name summarily scuppered. There was a small pause, then... Do you come to Oxbury very often? Welcome in Augustus.
More often than I would like. This place is pretty dead, but oh well. I wind up in Oxbury a lot during the holidays, since my parents are always palming me off on my grandparents. I spend a lot of my summers here, and a lot of my winters too. The summers here are depressing enough, since there's nothing to do, but the winters are even worse. It's so cold and so dark. It's so wet too. It rains so much the ground gets all mushy. It's pretty miserable. No offense. I don't want to insult this place too much. Not when you were born here. I hope you don't mind.
It's fine, I'm not offended. Actually, I agree with you.
Well, good! I'm glad I'm not the only one. It's a different story with my grandparents, though. They love this place. They've been living here for... God, I don't know. Their whole long lives, more or less, so they're pretty settled. They won't hear a bad word against Oxbury. They're obsessed. They were old, you know, when I was a kid, but they're even older now, if you can credit that. I think that's why they like Oxbury. It doesn't change, just like them. It's completely static.
Ethel frowned, lost in contemplation. The girl's voice was light, but there was something sad about her words. Something which twisted Ethel's insides. When people reached their twilight years, typically when they passed into their 80s, it became almost impossible to discern their age from their appearance. There wasn't that much difference, or so Ethel had always thought, between an 80 and a 90-year-old. Old age had an anonymizing factor. It stripped the individuality out of people, rendering them indistinguishable from one another. As far as Ethel was concerned, old people were all white-haired and rheumy-eyed, their faces scored with wrinkles. Their fingers were choppy, their hands shook, and they complained of myriad problems. Bad backs, bad eyes, bad hearts. Ethel didn't like the body she inhabited at the present. She'd been teased over her appearance one too many times, but she liked the thought of getting older even less. She didn't think she ever wanted to be 50, much less 80 or 90. She liked life too little to try and cling to it for all that long. What was the point?
Just saying old people is crazy. No, literally!
My parents have been having my grandparents look after me since I was a kid, but I don't think they've ever been cut out for the job. They could never keep up with me. That was a weird thing, but then... About this though.
The girl gestured with her right hand for emphasis.
But even then, I got this feeling I was no good for my poor old grandparents. I used to fret having to run around after me would drive them into their early graves. But it's been years since then, and they're both alive and kicking. But not literally. They're so old, I don't think they'll be capable of it.
Are you afraid they might dislocate their hips if they did that?
I gotta say, I didn't expect that from you. You're more fiery than you look.
Oh, I hope you don't mind?
Nah, I think it's funny. I like the contrast of your sweet exterior and your spicy interior. It was a surprise, but it was a pleasant one.
I don't know if I'm particularly spicy, but thank you.
You're welcome. I hope you're not getting the wrong idea, though. I know I'm being mean about my grandparents, but I do love them. They're the only grandparents I have, and I owe them a lot. They are dear to me. But I've had to spend a lot of time with them in this poky little village, and it does get stifling. Someday I would like to take off, see a bit more of the world. It's so very constricting.
What about your parents? Where do they live?
Oh, some tiny town not too far away from here.
And have they never taken you on holiday with them before?
Never bother. Whenever I go anywhere, I've always been dumped here with my old folks. And let me tell you, they really are old. Not even sure if they're pushing 90, or maybe even 100.
100? Ethel stared, all the while trying to solve some basic mental maths. Ethel's grandparents on her mother's side were relatively young as far as grandparents went. They'd had their mother when they were in their very early 20s. Her maternal grandmother was only 62, her maternal grandfather 66. Her paternal grandparents were a bit older, they were both in their mid-70s, but they weren't pushing into their 80s just yet, and they definitely weren't close to 100. The girl's family must have skewed awfully old. Ethel was still trying to work this out, something the girl seemed to notice because she smiled.
I'm exaggerating, of course.
Oh, right. Of course.
I'm not joking when I say that they're old, though. I don't like being with them in their rank-smelling house, which is so brown and green and damp. It must have rot and it's moist all the years round, so the window panes?
Window panes, yeah.
Okay, so the window panes are all waterlogged. It's awful. I wouldn't stay here if I had a choice, but I don't really have any friends and my family is pretty small, so...
The girl shrugged.
I guess it could be worse, but I don't like having to spend all of my holidays out in this dump. I wish my parents would... think about me a little lot more. But that's never going to happen. They've always been so selfish.
The girl sighed. She sounded bitter, unexpectedly so, given how lightly she'd spoken before. It was obvious that a degree of resentment simmered beneath her seemingly irreverent surface. Resentment which didn't seem to be buried all that deeply. Well, if she had inner demons, she wouldn't be the only one. She was only human.
Oh!
The girl suddenly gasped, wide-eyed as she stared at Ethel.
Oh, Where are my manners? I spent all this time talking about myself, but I have not asked about you. You were born in Knoxbury, weren't you?
Oh, yes, that's right.
I love how she's like, I've been talking so much about myself when she still hasn't told us her name.
Her name. Yeah. And you still live here, I'm guessing?
With my parents and my 2 brothers, yeah. Rowan and Manny.
Ah, I see. I don't have any siblings myself. No sisters or brothers. I've always wondered what it would be like, though.
It's... alright, I guess.
You don't sound too sure.
Well, it's hard for me to say what it's like. I've had brothers for most of my life. Rowan was born when I was 4, and Manny when I was 7, so I can't really remember what life was like before they arrived.
I see. That sounds kind of nice. If I had a sibling or 2 to keep me company, maybe spending all this time with my grandparents wouldn't be so bad. But who knows? Maybe they'll just annoy me. I don't know if I would like to share my stuff with them either. I can be pretty selfish.
The girl's eyes glinted when she said this, with a spark of mischief, which made Ethel's skin prickle. There was something a little unsettling about the way she looked at Ethel. Her eyes were intense, as though she meant to devour Ethel from tip to toe.
Please.
But surely that was nothing more than a fancy.
Please. So, where is your family right now, Ethel? Are they back at home, waiting for you? I hope that they are not worried about you. It is pretty late. Wouldn't want to make them anxious.
Oh, no. It's fine. They won't be waiting. I mean, they're not even at home. They've gone to Australia.
Incredibly safe things to tell a stranger. Yeah, I'm all
Yep.
alone. If I call for help, nobody's coming because they're in another country.
Australia? That's so far away! I've never been before, but it is true that their seasons are all mixed up compared to ours.
They're reversed, yeah. Their winter is like our summer. It's something to do with the hemispheres.
Crazy! I'm so used to wet, damp old Oxbury. I think that would have taken some time getting used to.
That's what I thought too. I was worried going there would throw me off, especially when it's been so cold here.
Is that why you didn't want to go then? Did you turn down their invitation? Or did I not invite you?
They did, yeah. My ticket was booked and everything. Mum had been planning it for a few months. Ever since April this year, actually. She was pretty insistent that I accompany her. It was supposed to be a family holiday, but... well... Ethel sighed. How, she wondered, was she supposed to explain her reasoning for staying behind to this girl? She wasn't entirely sure if she understood her reasoning herself. It overcomplicated things by being so moody, but wasn't that what she always did? She was forever making things more difficult. Not that she wanted to. It just seemed to happen.
Hey, Ethel. You didn't have an argument with your family, did you?
Oh, no, it's not like that. We're fine, really. Everything's fine.
Then why didn't you want to go? I'll leave England at the drop of a hat if I could. It's so wet and cold and... Ugh. I can't stand it here. It's so gloomy. Australia sounds much nicer.
It does sound nicer, but...
But...
The girl shifted a little closer to Ethel, so much so their thighs brushed.
Don't you like being with your family? Don't you get on with them?
It's... not that I don't get on with my parents. They're nice enough, I think. My mom nags me about my clothes and my hair sometimes, and my dad can be a bit... insensitive, maybe. Ethel thought back on the numerous occasions she tried to practice her violin at home. Occasions which had been swiftly terminated by her dad telling her to put a cork in it because he was trying to watch the telly. But they're not bad parents. They're not abusive. Other people have it much worse. It'd be unfair of me to complain.
And yet, despite that, you still didn't want to go on holiday with them?
It's not like that.
What is it like then?
It's my fault, really. They've not done anything wrong. It's all me.
What's all you? I don't understand.
It's not that complicated, really. It's just, it's the way I think about things. My parents are fine, they're lovely, even. And my brothers. We argue sometimes, but I think that's normal. All siblings argue. Clementine always picked fights with her sisters, too.
Clementine?
My girlfriend, Ethel was about to say, but that would have been a lie. Clementine wasn't her girlfriend anymore. They'd spoken so little after their breakup, Ethel was uncertain whether she was even her friend. What was Clementine to her now? Was she anything to her now? She's just a person I know from university. We talked a bit.
Oh, a friend then?
We were friends. I don't know about now. Not that it matters. None of it does, really.
What doesn't matter?
My feelings, maybe? I've been a bit down, I guess.
I couldn't tell.
But it's all very silly, and it's mostly self-inflicted. Anyway, I just get like this, in strange moods, I mean. That's what my mom says. She thinks I should buck my ideas up. Maybe she's right. It's not like I want to feel sad.
Of course you don't. I don't think anybody does.
But sometimes... No, most of the time, actually. I feel like a burden. I just bother my parents and my brothers. And Clementine, too. That's why I didn't want to go on holiday with them. They insisted, but... I don't know. They said the holiday wouldn't be the same without me, which is probably right, but I think it'd be for the better. I've been so gloomy, I don't think they'd want to put up with me. My parents were planning this holiday for ages. They were looking forward to it. That's why I didn't want to come along. I know I'm not in the right mood to enjoy it. It'd make everybody unhappy, and then I'd spoil everything. I think. Ethel's fingers, lying on her lap, curled in on themselves. Her nails, which were short and serrated, she'd been biting them lately, though it was a habit she'd tried for years to kick, digging into her palms. Her shoulders shook. Then, very quietly, she said, I think they'd be happier without me. Clementine certainly had been. Who was to say that her family wouldn't share her opinion? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said all of that. I was being silly, really. I know my family do care, obviously they do. It's just... sometimes... Shh. Ethel started, surprised. The girl was sitting even closer to her than before. Their fingers twined together and her eyes round, almost owl-like in their concern. Ethel stammered, stunned by this sudden, unexpected closeness. Stunned, too, by the sensation of the girl's skin upon her own. Her hand was icy cold.
It's alright. You don't need to try and explain yourself. Not to me. I understand how you feel. I understand only too well.
You do?
A little. You aren't the only person who's been feeling lonely. But I wish you wouldn't be so hard on yourself. Don't say that nobody cares.
I know I shouldn't. It's childish to think that way. Of course my parents care, but...
They don't make you feel like they do?
Ethel looked into the girl's eyes, held captive by the intensity of her gaze. For a few moments she could do nothing except sit there. She swallowed, tasting sawdust in her throat and dead, empty air. Wonder why they broke up? I mean, honestly, it sounds like Ethel was just a very superficial partner. Like, I mean, she has like no self-confidence, and all the time she's just doing things for Clementine. Like, oh, I bought her food. I read these poems and I was like, oh my god, these are so amazing. Like, it feels... Yeah, Ethel's kind of a downer. That's true.
Maybe like Clementine thought that like she was chaining down Ethel or something. Maybe because Ethel was like just making her whole world
Clementine,
just
yeah.
Clementine, yeah.
That's a
So
good
maybe
theory.
that's why they broke up.
Yeah, I could
like
see.
Why she doesn't talk that much to Ethel anymore.
Yeah, like she realized like, oh, this girl's codependent.
Yeah, basically.
Then, like an aged automaton that was in dire need of oiling, she shook her head.
Oh, you poor dear. It sounds like life has been very hard for you. But try not to worry. You aren't alone. I know how it feels. Being unwanted. It's awful. It feels so unjustified in your case, too. After all...
Woo! The girl reached out. She cupped Ethel's cheeks with her fingers, her palms icy against Ethel's warm skin, and said,
You are so nice.
Oh my god. Oh my god. It has begun.
I need her.
Gay sound effect
need
done. I see all those blushies. I see y'all. No, that is a lovely
I
CG.
need her.
Such a lovely art style. Chat, I might change the thumbnail.
Change the thumbnail for the love of God, change it.
Do you really think so?
I think you must be. Otherwise, you wouldn't have listened to me so patiently. I was complaining about my grandparents. You are a sweetheart. And, no matter how other people might have made you feel, I'm happy to be spending time with you. Meeting you has been really refreshing, actually. It's almost enough to make me think this was fated.
Fated.
That's right. I think you were sent here for a reason. You can laugh if you want, but I'm a pretty superstitious. But I'm a pretty superstitious person. Maybe it comes from spending so much time with my grandmother. She's always put a lot of thought into that sort of thing. Tea leaves and the alignments of the planets and star signs. And I don't think our meeting happened for no reason. It must have been ordained by... I don't know. Fate, destiny, karma, kismet, call it what it will. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe I have let one too many of my grandmother's silly stories get to me.
The girl leant in even more closely, if such a thing was possible. Then quietly she said,
But there must be a greater reason behind why your paths crossed tonight. I'm sure of it. I've been so lonely here these last few days, with nobody my age to talk to.
The girl's eyes continued to bore into Ethel's. Dark, large eyes, lined with long dark lashes, which seemed pregnant all of a sudden with meaning.
But now I have you.
You have me?
Yes, I have you. You're mine now, just like I'm yours. And it blacked anyways. That's fun. I can be your strange thinking girl who takes refuge in the church at night to recite hymns. And you can be my wet, windswept stranger coming from the cold. I'll wait for you tomorrow night too, in this church. And we can have another wonderful feast inside this crooked old building. How does that sound? Don't you think it's romantic? It's just like something from a fairy tale.
Ethel thought of this. The girl's icy fingers, why were they so cold? Upon her own. And as she did, she felt herself blush. It wasn't a very pretty blush, of course. Ethel wasn't very pretty in general. Her blushes, when they came, were uncomfortably intense. Red and blotchy, and not so very dissimilar from acne. She wasn't attractive. Ethel knew she wasn't attractive. But she wondered, in that quiet, understated moment in the church, whether she was pretty to the dark-haired girl who cupped her cheeks. If this is a fairy tale, then would this have a happy ending?
Well, now, that depends.
On?
On whether you come back, of course. I've been waiting here, so don't be a stranger. Stop on by. If you don't, I think we'll both regret it. I mean...
Impishly, the girl smiled.
Then, I won't be able to do this.
The girl tipped her head before Ethel could say anything, before she knew what was happening. Ethel soon felt something soft against her lips, and she gasped. That's crazy! That's crazy!
Please do that to me next, man!
She could hardly believe it, but... The girl was kissing her. The kiss lasted for but a few seconds. It was little more than a faint brushing of the lips, but it was enough to make Ethel's heart stammer. She knew, as the girl kissed her, her palm still pressed against her cheeks, that this signaled change. Though what sort of change it was exactly remained a mystery. It was undeniable, however, that this would alter her holiday for the good. Things would never be the same again. The girl had branded her. Her kiss corroded like acid, disintegrating all of Ethel's thoughts as if they were made of nothing more than the flimsiest, most insubstantial of crepe paper. There was the church. There was the girl. There was the kiss. And there was nothing else at all. Nothing in the whole world.
Oh, this is where the toxic parts comes in. I think the whole thing is a little toxic, but that's just me. Yeah, anime opening.
Oh my god, this is so pink.
And that was just the tutorial. I was so happy I invited you to do this with me. My god.
God, I need her. I need her like I don't care. I don't care if I die in the end. I need her.
The girl? That's her
The
name?
girl.
Do we ever learn her name?
I don't think so.
Maybe it's something we learn near the end. The girl. Everybody look, it's the thumbnail.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Yes!
No, it wouldn't. What do you think is gonna happen?
No, it wouldn't. No,
Oh
it wouldn't.
my
Please,
God.
please. Please! Please, I'm on my knees. Ethel, you can do something right in your life for once. At least
Give in to the mushroom. Mushroom girl.
Anyways, give me a second. I'm going to order food because it's 10 p.m. Oh my god, it's 10 p.m.
Girl, you haven't eaten? Go eat.
No, I haven't. I'm going to order food.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this game is so good, y'all. I'm really appreciating Mostly Nasi's art also. Heading out for now, have a nice night all. Thanks Aster Nose for great acting and Ink and Yuri for great modding. Woohoo! Have a good night, Buckles. Sleep well. I'm debating whether I want to stop here, because it has been like 2 hours, but also like...
It has been 2 hours.
Do you want to stop here? It seems like a good stopping point, honestly.
It just looks like a good stopping point, and also I need food.
And also I'm like feeling a little tired.
Girl, then yeah, we're stopping.
Alright, let's call it here then. Thank you everybody for joining us for the first part of Her Love Like Poison. No, I'm sorry. We haven't even heard the name of the girl yet. I mean, it wasn't in the trailer.
I don't think I don't think we're ever hearing it.
It might be one of those things where like in... Yeah, look at the girl.
Oh my god, I gotta read.
Oh, so this is opening.
That's the opening.
Pretty.
That ass though.
It's a pretty decent bit of art, huh? This is such a beautiful CG, man. Holy shit.
No, literally, and the other one too.
Like, oh my god, it's so pretty.
Ethel, move! It's my turn! Move! Move!
Me and who?
And with that, everybody, first stream and it lived up to all expectations. Thank you, Aster and Rose, for this absolutely sumptuous treat. Thank you for the $5 bunny. Thank you so much. I'm happy that you came to one of these streams, and I'm happy that this is your first one. This is, I like this game a lot. Be sure to check the playlist in the description for more of Ebihima's wonderful games. In particular, I recommend It Gets So Lonely Here and The End of an Obsession. Those two are my favorites, though there's a lot of them that I really like. Like I said, her dress gives body yada yada yada. And with that, any final words, Rose?
Please, let's play this soon. Let's play this soon. I need more toxic yuri. Oh my god, I need the girl like implanted in my fucking arms. I need her like injected. I need her like injected in my arms. Like it's like I need the actual poison. You don't know. You don't know, right? I actually need it. I need it like it's a fucking drug. Anyways, good night.
And with that,
I'm very normal.
And with that, everybody.
I'm very normal. I say, drag me to the prison.
And with that, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. And good night.